Today on the Morning Edition, a major IT outage grounds Alaska Airlines flights across the entire network, still affecting flights this morning. We'll have the latest on the delays, cancellations, and what you need to know before heading to the airport.
Complete net with masts, poles, all the artifacts of daily life, kayak frame parts, even pieces of leather clothing.
Uncovering Alaska history. Ex-Typhoon Halong didn't only leave destruction in its wake. Find out how the storm led to the discovery of hundreds of Indigenous artifacts in western Alaska, some 500 years old. And Halloween is now just 1 week away. Spooky season is in full swing. We're showing you some of the most elaborate and creative decor we've found haunting Anchorage as the Morning Edition starts now. Good Friday morning, everyone. Thanks for waking up with us today. Halloween is 1 week away. Did you see some of those displays?
Yeah, I need to know where the Headless Horseman carriage, I need to know where that's at.
I know. That one is so cool. I'd love to see that one in person, too.
Yeah, looking forward to after Halloween, everyone's starting putting those Christmas decorations up. That means cooler weather heading our way. And yes, we're talking about that into the weekend and next week. 38 degrees is what we're currently sitting at this morning. In fact, our lows that we're dealing with this morning, these will be our highs as we welcome in next week. And we're also watching that potential that some portions of South Central could see some localized areas of wintry mix as we welcome in the weekend. Notice this morning we're largely holding on to some isolated to scattered rain showers as you head through parts of the Susitna Valley, higher elevations of the Chugach Range. We are seeing a fresh coating of some snow that is accumulating on the mountaintops this morning. Now, as we welcome in the weekend, we will watch for some of that light snow to mix in at the surface. But as far as today, we're still holding on to some of those ongoing showers across South Central. Like we've been dealing with the past couple of days, it's really going to be hit or miss activity across most of the region, and we'll continue to favor that activity sticking around through the evening hours before we do see some drier weather as we welcome in next week. Temperatures today still expected to make a run into the lower 40s. You can see that light rain showers we've got with us this morning. Those kind of taper off throughout the day, but they may pick right back up into the evening. And with temperatures set to drop near freezing through the night, we will see that potential that we could see some localized areas of wintry mix as we welcome in our Saturday. And speaking of the weekend, there's those temperatures topping out at 39 degrees for tomorrow. We've got that chance for some wintry mix in the forecast, even cooler weather expected Sunday as we drop into the mid to upper 30s. Now, this is average for this time of year as our average high is right around 37 degrees. We're talking about even cooler weather as we lead up to Halloween. We'll likely see our highs dropping down near freezing. I'll have more on that 7-day forecast for you coming up.
In today's top story, Alaska Airlines says operations are now restored after a significant IT outage led to a complete ground stop across its entire network yesterday. The outage began around 3:30 p.m. following a failure at its primary data center. In a post on X, the airline said since Thursday afternoon, it's had more than 229 flight cancellations. This is what it looked like at Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport last night as passengers waited for updates. The ground stop was lifted around 10:30 last night, but you'll still want to check your flight status before heading to the airport this morning. The airline says additional disruptions are likely as it repositions crew and aircraft. Now, this is a current look at flight status board at Ted Stevens International Airport. As you can see from those red lines on your screen, there are still several cancellations and some delays today. So again, you'll want to check your individual flight status. We spoke to some travelers who were stuck at Ted Stevens last night.
I'm a welder up there on the Trans-Alaska Pipeline, and they have other guys to still hold over when I'm gone. But I mean, it still does sting when I'm there and I'm not there. I'm supposed to be there. Everybody has travel arrangements. I don't want to miss them.
The airline says a flexible travel policy is in place to support guests as operations return to normal. Well, happening today, a man indicted for murder in a deadly Midtown shooting is set to face arraignment. A grand jury has indicted 36-year-old Joshua Gibbs, seen here in last week's shooting at the Circle K on 36th Street and C Street. Gibbs remains in custody on $250,000 bail and is scheduled for arraignment this afternoon. Police say the victim, 49-year-old Charles Jackson Jr., was a former neighbor of Gibbs. Jackson died at the scene after the October 15th shooting Gibbs is charged with murder, assault, and weapons misconduct. If convicted, he faces up to 99 years in prison. Turning now to ongoing efforts to bring relief to western Alaska following former Typhoon Halong. In addition to human evacuation efforts, people across the state are coming together to ensure Alaskan pets aren't forgotten. Joe Allgood has the story.
As hundreds of people evacuated western Alaska, many were unable to take their best friends with them. So now, many are wondering, what about those who had to evacuate not on 2 legs, but on 4?
We all know how we would feel if someone told us we couldn't take our dog with us.
More than 180 dogs have been transported to Bethel, thanks in large part to village teachers who stayed behind to help. Dozens have arrived in Anchorage and the Mat-Su Valley, with more on the way.
Last year, we took in around 500, so we have done a third of our annual number in just a week. So, yeah, it has been all hands on deck.
And then we're creating a huge database also with all the other rescues that have taken in animals and just trying to create a centralized location.
The goal is reunion, as numbers tell the story of how many families have been separated.
If someone has lost their pet, they can show up to Anchorage Animal Care and Control, and we can help locate where their animal went along this whole process.
During the chaotic evacuation, disturbing reports surfaced that some owners were choosing to euthanize their dogs rather than leave them to starve.
I had heard that that was happening, that people were told that. I did not hear that anyone who was evacuating took that advice. I heard that they were horrified that they were told that. And I think that's also when those teachers stepped in and said, no, don't shoot any dog.
While many still wonder.
There are, in fact, still dogs out there.
And an urgent need for donations.
The biggest thing we need is pet food.
There is good news.
So far, we have sent about 60 of them out to their owners or to friends or families of the owners who can take them.
For families torn apart by this crisis, seeing familiar eyes and wagging tails brings incredible joy during an uncertain time.
Dogs are increasingly family, and it's harder to lose them than some of your human family at times, to be honest. To be able to at least reunite them with one piece of home.
That's irreplaceable. And the fact that we can do this for these people and give them back one thing that they thought they lost makes everything worth it.
Now, the additional shelter space in the tents behind me isn't currently full. That's why you don't hear any barking. But once those dogs do arrive, Anchorage Animal Care and Control says their goal is to keep them for as little time as possible and find either their owners or a foster home. Joe Allgood, Alaska's news source.
And for many of the displaced residents, being in a new city can be a bit of a culture shock on top of dealing with the heartbreak of losing their homes. That's why there's a new effort to provide a sense of home and comfort through food. People are invited to drop off frozen traditional food to the Alaska Native Heritage Center. They can also bring items to the Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium located on the Alaska Native Medical Center campus. Nikki Corbett says she drove from Soldotna to give people a taste of home.
They have lost their freezers of native food, food that they have been gathering all summer, all spring, all fall. As we rely heavily on the foods that are off of the land. And so to lose all of that is just, it's not only all your foods, but all of your hard work that you've spent all summer sort of gathering and preparing.
Food will be accepted at both locations Monday through Friday during business hours. You can find more details on how to donate on our website. And remember, KTUU Channel 2 is partnered with the American Red Cross to help support healing from Halong. Our goal is to raise $100,000 for those in need. Scan this QR code on your screen or text Red Cross to 90999. Make sure you click Alaska Storms and Floods on the drop-down menu to make sure your entire donation goes directly to Red Cross response efforts. Now, not only did flooding from former Typhoon Halong damage homes and food stores, but also an archaeological site in Quinnipiac, revealing over 1,000 Indigenous artifacts. Jace Bertrand shows us what was uncovered.
Around 60 feet of beach was eroded near Quinnipiac, one of several archaeological sites in western Alaska.
The site is special because because of permafrost, it's preserved all these wooden and organic artifacts until now. artifacts are very rarely preserved in archaeological sites. They're about 500 to 600 years old. And so wooden artifacts are spread up and down the beach from that erosional episode with the typhoon for miles.
The Nunalak dig site produced these artifacts, first discovered by Jimmy Jones, a resident of Quinnahock. I spoke with him over text, where he recounted how he, quote, took a ride with a good friend of his down the beach to see if any wood came in. He said that after discovering the dig site, he and a friend combed the beach until they came across what looked to be a mask, which Jones said, quote, spooked him a little bit, but felt amazing at the same time.
So far, we've recovered about 1,000 artifacts, much of them from volunteers from the village who rushed out immediately. They include some things that are real cultural and historical treasures, like complete bentwood masks, bowls, all the artifacts of daily life, kayak frame parts, even pieces of leather clothing.
Once recovered, experts began working to preserve these treasures.
These are organic artifacts, and although they look like they're in great shape, they're actually being held together by water. So if they dry out on their own or on the beach or in somebody's house, they'll fall apart very quickly. So what we're doing now is soaking them in fresh water to remove the marine salts. And then we'll soak them in a chemical polyethylene glycol, which is kind of a wax that will replace the water in the wood. And so when it dries, it'll still hold together.
Now preserved, many of the artifacts will remain at the Nunalak Museum. A remarkable discovery and a reminder of Alaska's rich history.
People have been very pleased and proud to have been part of this rescue effort. They're pretty well versed in what artifacts are all about, how to recognize them, how to take care of them. So you couldn't ask for a better community partnership.
Jace Bertrand, Alaska's news source.
And we'll continue to share stories of the lives who have been most impacted by the storm this week with a special hour-long broadcast. The Healing from Halong special airs from 6 to 7 tonight on KTUU Channel 2. Coming up, big changes for Alaska for major projects, from oil drilling to new roads. Just got the green light. We'll break down what it means for the state's future, plus who's celebrating and who's concerned.
Seeing a return to some cooler conditions across not only the state, but here in South Central, where we could see some wintry mix into the weekend. I'll have more on that. But first at sunrise, 9:07 in Anchorage, 10:33 in Utqiagvik. Your full forecast is next.
Welcome back on this Friday morning. Aaron, you said some flurries could be in our future in South Central.
Yeah, we'll be watching for that overnight into tomorrow, as we are still holding on to some of that moisture. And as that colder weather arrives, any lingering moisture will lead to some localized areas of wintry mix as we welcome in the weekend. And then we're also going to be watching our overnight lows. Now, while we have managed to drop below freezing a few times, we are expected to see that potential for potential for some winds, the potential for those temperatures to steadily drop consecutive days, where we'll see those lows dropping back below freezing. So that is some what we're going to be watching as we welcome in the weekend and next week. Of course, our afternoon highs, they have been warming into the 40s each day. And then as we welcome in the weekend, we're going to see our highs dropping into the 30s. Now, we're waking up this morning. We've got those wind chills out west sitting in the teens, 10 degrees in Kotzebue, 25 in Galena. Anaktuvik Pass waking up to those wind chills sitting below zero this morning. So that cooler weather is still with us across the state. In fact, many areas will see even colder conditions as we close out the month. There's our area of low pressure that remains with us. It will continue to keep some rain around for the Gulf Coast region, even out towards southeast, where we've got some ongoing light rain to be expected. But notice as we close out today and welcome in the weekend, we've got that colder weather off towards the northwest. That will settle into South Central. And then you can see through the overnight hours, this is through 11 a.m. tomorrow, our temperatures will be sitting near freezing. So any lingering moisture will amount to some light wintry mix across South Central. Not everyone will see that, but we will see our first best chance of seeing some wintry mix so far this season as we welcome in the weekend. And then those temperatures, they steadily drop as we welcome in next week. So we still got some ongoing light rain showers across South Central today. The mountains expected to see more in the way of a light snow event. And then as we welcome in the overnight hours on into tomorrow, notice some of this light snow, if not wintry mix, that's going to be pushing pushing through parts of South Central. This will lead to some light accumulation. It won't stick. We're still entirely too warm for any of that snow to stick. And if it does, it's just going to be about a day or so before it does melt away. But as far as that snow total forecast, as we welcome in the weekend, notice we're just going to see some very light accumulation mixing in with that rain. Not everyone is going to see this. Some locations will just see some rain. And then you can see out towards Whittier, that 2 to 4 inches. That's not going to happen. That's going to be more into those higher elevations of the mountains as well as through the passes. But what we are to watch as we welcome in the weekend, snow is not guaranteed for everyone. And any accumulation we see will be light, and it's still too warm for that snow to stick for several days. So we'll be watching for that lingering opportunity for some of that wintry mix into the weekend. Temperatures across the state cooling off, 32 degrees today in Fairbanks. Along the slope will break into the 20s, while areas out west will continue to hold on to quieter weather with highs sitting in the 20s and the 30s. Here across the 7-day forecast, you can see those temperatures steadily cooling off. That chance for wintry mix into our Saturday. We've got another chance of wintry mix looking possible as we welcome in Monday, and then leading up to Halloween, Kristen. There is signs that we're going to see those temperatures continuing to steadily drop. We'll likely see Halloween with highs near freezing.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. The Trump administration has approved 4 major Alaska projects, from oil drilling to new roads. Federal officials announced actions to opening 1.5 million acres of ANWR for drilling. Also finalizing the Ambler Road permits, moving forward with the King Cove Road, and granting land allotments to 3 Alaska Native Vietnam-era veterans. Alaska's delegation and Governor Mike Dunleavy praised the moves, calling them job-creating and long overdue. Those in opposition warn of threats to wildlife and culture. Supporters in King Cove say the road is essential for emergency access to Cold Bay's airport. Here's what Interior Secretary Doug Burgum said about Alaska's future.
Alaska's extraordinary resource should be unleashed, not locked away, knowing that in America we can do things smarter, safer, and more environmentally responsible than anywhere in the world. So when we shut down our own timber production, our own mineral production, our own oil and gas production, we don't lower demand. We just shift it to other countries that do it less cleanly.
The Wilderness Society released a statement on the Ambler Road decision, saying 88 tribal governments have passed resolutions opposing the road, saying it would harm salmon streams and resources while threatening caribou migration patterns. The Fairbanks North Star Borough is updating its comprehensive plan and wants to know what the public may want added or changed. Starting in November, the borough will host 7 community meetings to gather feedback. They hope to add feedback from the people into their final product. The 20-year plan covers a variety of subjects in borough operation, like education, transportation, housing, and more. Mayor Grier Hopkins says the comprehensive plan is put together by a group of community stakeholders, but driven by public comment.
We decide what we want to put into it by the surveys that we hear from the public. That's how we prioritize what is needed. Then we've got another committee here that's got about 13 to 15 people on it from all different sectors and stakeholders in the community that then listen to what the public has put in as their opinions and their thoughts for their neighborhoods, and then it puts that into play within the comp plan.
Updates have been in the works for about a year. Mayor Hopkins expects the plan to be finalized around the beginning of 2027.
Thanks for listening to our podcast. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcasts from Alaska's news source automatically, and stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's News Source app.